All right, welcome to the Krueg Show. Hope everybody's having a great day. And with us to talk a little ball is one of the newest 49ers, Jack Colletto, former star at Oregon State, now a 49er undrafted free agent, and joining us from the Bay, where the Niners have finished up rookie minicamp, but are looking ahead to OTAs, which get going in full this week down in Santa Clara. We will be there for you, bringing you all the sights and sounds from camp. And today we bring you Jack Colletto. Hey, Jack, how are you, man? How's things?
Not too bad, just getting adjusted and stuff like that. So appreciate you having me on the show.
Oh man, I'm glad to have you. And my buddy's a big Oregon State fan, and he called me a couple days after the draft. He's like, "You guys got Jackhammer. You guys got Jackhammer." And I'm like, "Yeah, tell me a little bit about Jack's career." And he's like, "Oh, you can do it all." Let's talk a little bit about you. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town in Washington called Paulsbo, which is pretty much a ferry ride across from Seattle. That's where I grew up. And then I graduated high school in a town called Camas High School, which is just northeast of Portland. So across the Columbia River on the Washington side.
And you played, obviously football, but you played other sports there too, huh?
I played basketball when I was young, up through middle school, and then baseball a bit in high school. But I was dead set on football when I was a young kid. I knew that was the sport I loved the most.
So you began your college career going the JC route, Arizona Western College. Talk to us a little bit about that, and in that, because this isn't the glamour, right? There's no glitz and glamour in JUCO ball. What you find are guys who have a dream and they want to keep that dream alive. What was your experience like there? How'd you wind up there?
So it was a bit of a crazy process, and really throughout my whole career is a lot of ups and downs. But so starting in high school, I transferred, like I said, to Camas and graduated there. And so I was there my football season, junior and senior year. And when I got there, they already had a quarterback. So my junior year, I only started at safety. And then my senior year is where I started at quarterback. I was always a quarterback, and that was my aspirations and my dreams. So I really only had 1 year starting as a quarterback. Ended up having a great year. We won the state title and stuff like that. But in terms of recruiting, all the teams, Power 5 schools kind of already had their guy. And so I had a few offers from smaller colleges and stuff like that. And I went and visited them, but ultimately I was like, this isn't really quite what I was looking for or wanted. And I believed I was good enough to play big time ball at the next level. And then it was the coaches from Arizona Western. They reached out to me, and then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, I could go JUCO for a year and then end up going to a Power 5 or something like that. And that ended up being the decision I made. So I was at Arizona Western, was there for a year, and then was fortunate enough to end up going to Oregon State right after that.
So it's safe to say you've spent a significant amount of time in that booming metropolis known as Yuma, right? Isn't Arizona Western right there in Yuma?
Yeah, right on the border of California and Mexico.
Yeah, not a lot going on in Yuma. I mean, it's a great place to stop for gas if you're driving from San Diego to spring training.
Well, I mean, they got a Chick-fil-A and an In-N-Out, and then military base and empty wasteland.
So talk about Oregon State, because I think it was between Oregon State and Vandy. Is that right? I mean, Vandy
Correct.
would have been a nice school too, SEC school, great academics. But Oregon State, I've been on their campus and I've seen their football facilities. And I don't know if it's because Oregon built up and that's why Oregon State has built up, but man, Oregon State's got awesome football facilities and they're all relatively new. Was that a big influencer in your decision to go to Corvallis?
Well, I mean, I'm not really obviously the facilities and stuff are nice, but for me, it's more the practicality. Like,
Sure.
if it helps me be a better player, then I'm all for that. But it's really the people that make a place what it is and really what it isn't. And Oregon State, knowing that Coach Smith, the head coach, Jonathan Smith, it was his first year, I was his first class. I knew I was going to be with him the whole time and develop and grow with Coach Smith and the coaching staff and all the guys that they brought in. That's ultimately what made me choose Oregon State.
Now, tell us about your family. You an only child? Do you have siblings? Do you have siblings, and are they athletes?
I have one older brother, who's 16 months older, and we'd always fight growing up. But no, we're complete opposites. He's a big music guy. So
Awesome. Well, so take us to Oregon State. Now let's go talk a little bit about your time there, because what I loved about your story is that you were so passionate about playing quarterback that you really wanted to play quarterback. And I'm just was that a childhood dream, or was that something that you discussed with a family member? Because you sounded like somewhat hesitant to play some of these other spots.
well, ultimately, in terms of that's just how I envisioned my career path to go. I just believed like quarterback was my way, and if I just run my head through the wall enough times, eventually it'd break. And it got me to that point at Oregon State. It's just eventually once I got to Oregon State, the wall really wouldn't break down anymore, and that's when I had to start to rethink and reanalyze what I really wanted for myself, and ultimately is being on the field competing, because playing whatever you're doing or position you're playing is a lot more entertaining and more fun and more valuable than standing on the sidelines.
Well, and then how did you wind up playing, a bunch of spots? Because you played linebacker, obviously fullback, quarterback. Was it in practice? So the coach said, "I need somebody for this," and you raised your hand, or did they kind of recruit you to say, "Hey, you know what? We feel like you can help us here and there." How did the kind of the evolution of your multi-sport thing come about?
Well, it really wasn't just one instance in one moment. It was really a gradual process, but it started so I was playing quarterback there for about a year. The first year I was a quarterback, and then obviously like I didn't get the results I wanted, or really was the player that I wanted to be. And after about a year, I mean, I still could have gone the quarterback route and worked hard and developed, and they liked me in terms of the work ethic, but I could just see the writing on the wall in terms of them trying to bring in other guys to try and fill the spot. And ultimately, I sat down and talked with my family, and, my uncle was the one who brought up the idea, where it's like, well, I mean, you're a big kid and you're athletic. So it's like, let's just switch you to linebacker, and then we can figure it out and go from there. So I thought about it a bit, and I don't know what went on in Coach Smith's head. You'd have to ask him if when one of your quarterbacks goes in to talk to you in a meeting and he decides he wants to switch to linebacker. You don't really see that situation happen every day, but he raised an eyebrow with that when I brought that up. But he thought about it, talked to the defensive guys, and he's like, yeah, let's make the switch. He was for it. But at the time, he's like, well, I still need some depth at the quarterback position. So during that fall camp, every fifth practice, I'd go over at quarterback. So I still kind of was in on both sides. But on the offensive side, I had a short yardage package that I'd always do. And that's, the one I've had there my whole career there. So I still did that, and along with playing linebacker. And then from there, the roles just began to continue to expand. So I did all the special teams. And then it was like 2021 when our O-line coach Mahalchek, he asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to play fullback? I go, yeah, sure. Why not? I don't care. Because at that point, I was just like, it doesn't even matter what I do. I just want to get on the field and play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So started playing fullback, and yeah, it started with something small and simple. It just one switch, and then it just kind of grew from there.
What's the most fun position to play? I mean, do you like to detonate on guys as a linebacker? Do you like to run down on special teams and blow somebody up? Do you like to be the lead blocker through the hole as a fullback? Is it when you think of your favorite moments of your career to date? What do you envision? Do you envision big hits, touchdowns, passes? I mean, it's like literally everything.
I know this is probably the answer you don't want to hear, but as long as
No.
I'm on the field, I don't care.
Okay. Hey, that's fair, man. That's fair. That's fair. It's like you'd
People
rather be playing than not playing.
I mean, people have tried to get me to choose a side or something like that, but it's like picking a favorite child.
Yeah. And as somebody who has 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl, there'll be no picking of favorite children. Now I went to Sac State and I was just a mediocre student. You obviously are way, way smarter than me. You've already graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering. Is that true?
Yeah, it is correct. Yes.
Mechanical engineering. And now, I don't think people understand that when you play pro sports, when you play college sports in the Pac-12, a Power 5 conference, man, you got to give it all to Oregon State football, right? I mean, the lifting, the dedication, the practice time, the film work, all the extras, especially you as a guy who's playing both sides of the ball. And then somehow you can combine that with a mechanical engineering degree. I mean, tell us how you balanced your time in college. I mean, that right there could probably be an entire TV show. The balancing of time to play college football and become a mechanical engineering major. It's not an easy major.
That it is not, but it's funny because it's not as bad as some people can make it, just because it's not really a bunch of busy work. More so, it's just understanding things. So where people spend a lot of time is they spend a lot of time trying to understand the concepts. But if you can pick up on the concepts pretty quick, then it's really not a ton of extra work outside of the classroom. And I mean, it still was a lot of work, especially on top of football. But I mean, the biggest thing it taught me is just being able to manage your time. Because if I manage my time well and I just don't waste a lot of time during the day, I'm never really staying up till midnight doing homework assignments and stuff like that. And I mean, there's a few occasions where I had that, but it wasn't really as bad as you might seem it is bad.
Now, were any of your Oregon State teammates somehow in your same major? When you took your mechanical engineering courses, did you have teammates in your classes?
Oh yeah, there's a few teammates. Actually, the kicker there right now, Everett Hayes, we'd take classes together and we'd help each other out. So that also made it easier as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So, so you graduate there, and obviously let's fast forward to the draft process. What did you have an agent? I mean, how does where in the lineage of this thing do you acquire representation, or are you doing that now, or is that something that you did like as a senior at Oregon State? When do you have to start going through that process and figuring out, all right, how am I going to do this? How am I going to transition from Oregon State player to a pro player?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I understood how it worked prior. I just was kind of floating around and trying to figure out and learn as I went through it, just because there's really no one in my family who's been through this process, so I kind of had everything on my own. But really, it was throughout the course of the season where agents would try to reach out to me and talk to me, and they'd throw their pitches and stuff like that. But I put all of that off until after the regular season, just so I could focus on football and spend time and allocate my time towards football. But after the season, like after that Oregon game, we had like a few weeks off and stuff like that. That's when I started to talk to agents and go through a selection process. And so pretty much by the time we played our bowl game, I already knew who I was going to sign with. And then after the game, you signed with them.
As far as what teams said to you in the process, did you go to the combine?
I did not.
You didn't get invited to the combine. So what were you hearing feedback either through your agent or from teams directly about, because I would imagine there's probably with a player like yourself, for people who don't know, Jack won the Paul Hornung Award, which is the versatility award in college football. You were like the most versatile guy in college football. And I would imagine there'd be a lot of teams that would want to talk to you about your kind of mindset, about playing different positions and where you felt you could contribute. And then, of course, you get that feedback from them of where they feel like you're best suited as a pro. What were those dialogues like with the teams?
Most of the teams saw me adding value to the offensive side of the ball, but there were a few who brought up the defensive side of the ball. And I never really had any crazy experiences with the draft process. It's all a lot of the same stuff where it's, I'd meet with a guy, talk to them, like, yeah, you are who I thought you were. And I was like, okay, sweet. And we just kind of have a normal conversation. And then I just go about my day. It wasn't really any of this, put the light over your head, go into a room and, let's interrogate this guy. I never really had that. So in terms of that, is pretty, I guess I was a little bit surprised because you'd always hear these crazy stories about people asking crazy questions. I never really had that. I didn't get that experience at all.
Well, that's good, because some of those questions are just some of those questions, and you've seen them and I've seen them. They're just ridiculous. Some of them are insulting. A lot of them are intrusive. And if you can, I think the NFL is kind of trying to get away from that and try to treat the players a little bit better and a little bit more sensitively, I think, than they have maybe in the past. That's just the feeling I get.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest motive for those questions is really just to see how the player's going to react, and just,
Right.
I don't know, just like see what kind of person they are in certain circumstances. So, I mean, I kind of understand the reasoning for it, but then again, there's the flip side. It's like it's not necessary. It's not really necessary.
All right, let's go back to the draft. It's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event, and you knew you weren't going in round one. You may have known that you weren't going in the second or third round, so maybe Saturday was your focus. But how did you spend those days? Did you have the same plan all 3 days? Different plans for the 3 days? Where were you during the draft?
So I was at my dad's house up in Paulsbo, and they always feed me good. My stepmom's a great cook, so we're having good meals Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily recommend this to other people, but I was just spending my time pretty much staring at the TV screen, and especially Saturday, all day Saturday, I was just sitting there glued watching, seeing everything like kind of go down, and then yeah.
Who were the teams on Saturday that when they were on the clock, you're like, hey, everybody get in here, this might be it. I mean, were there teams, were the Niners one of them? I mean, who was showing interest in you in the draft lead up that you thought, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to get drafted, but this team may take me?
So prior to the draft, what I did with the agent is we made a top 5 list just for in case, like, free agency happened and stuff like that. So really, I mean, the teams involved before the draft was Green Bay, Dallas, Denver, and San Francisco, and then a little bit of the Raiders. So those were pretty much the teams in my top 5 order. And I knew the 49ers were interested. I was in contact with the running back coach for a few weeks prior to the draft. And so I was like, okay, well, we just have to see how the draft kind of plays out, because that order can shift based on the people they get and things like that. So yeah, I mean, throughout the draft, I was eyeing those 5 teams.
So the draft ends, and take us through the process. I mean, is it all of a sudden the draft ends, the phone starts ringing? Was it the middle of the 7th round? Teams start kind of scouting out there who could be now available, and how tell us that, or were you not involved in that process and that was all your agent?
Oh no, I was heavily involved with it, because even in the 6th round, 5th round, teams would call me and I'd be talking to teams, and they'd either be asking information about who I've talked to and things like that, or let's see, or pretty much making a pitch for the free agency. So that was going on in the 7th round. So once the 7th round hit, I mean, everything was just hectic. It was phone call after phone call. And then when the draft ends, it's like, okay, this team made an offer, this team made an offer. And then it's just trying to figure it out and sort it out. So yeah, it was a pretty hectic 30 minutes after, but it's a pretty quick turnaround once the draft ends, because after 30 minutes, you pretty much know where you're going.
Give me the Niners pitch. What they got on the who was it that got on the horn with you, or was it with your agent?
Well, it's multiple people, because I talked with their special teams coordinator, the running back coach,
Schneider, yep.
Coach Shanahan
Bobby
towards,
T, right?
yeah,
Bobby T, yep.
yep, and then Shanahan towards the end of it. So, and then ultimately, when I started my agent, I was like, I mean, they're the ones really pushing for you, and I knew, I was like, okay, well, if I went there, that's a really good fit, good team, good organization, so I'd have absolutely no issue going to the 49ers, and I knew that prior to the draft. So, I mean, they made their pitch, then they threw out the offer, and I was giving myself a little bit of time to sit there and think about it, like 10, 15 minutes, but I knew I couldn't wait forever. And then after 10, 15 minutes, then I was like, yep, let's do it.
What was there a phrase or a sentence or something, an influential part of that made you kind of, because I mean, all these teams probably have really credible people that are saying some great things about you. Jack, man, we really see you as a key guy. Did anybody say anything in that kind of brief recruiting phone process that kind of made you go, hey, I like that. I like what I heard there. Or maybe even a conversation with Shanahan. What did Kyle say to you?
God, I don't even remember. It was such a,
It was a whirlwind.
like, hey, it's like, we value you, we want you here and stuff like that. But I mean, really the biggest thing I look at is just the fit and
Right.
the so seeing the 49ers, the fit, how they use the fullback, I believe my best ability in utilizing my talents to the highest potential is being able to do a bunch of different things. And you see that with Juszczyk all the time. They do a bunch of different things with him. So being able to learn from him and how successful he's been in the league, and being able to take those things and also apply that to my game is really the biggest selling point for me to go to the 49ers.
Have you had a chance to talk to Kyle at all?
I have not personally, no. I mean, he's not here yet, but he's been in the meetings and stuff like that on Zoom. So,
I mean, I'm sure you probably studied him though when you were at Oregon State, because you were talking about one of the NFL's best fullbacks, Pro Bowler. As you said, he can do it all. He can wildcat quarterback, short yardage. They line him up wide, they flex him out. I mean, he could be used in any number of ways. Was he a guy that you watched at all when you were at Oregon State?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because Oregon State, we run a somewhat similar offense to what San Francisco runs. So in terms of install and teach tape, we'd pull a lot from 49ers film. So just through that, I was able to, see a lot of the things he did.
He's a very talented guy. And not how many teams in the NFL actually use a fullback right now? I mean, I would say less than a half dozen, right?
I mean, well, it's funny because it's starting to grow a little bit, because I know Green Bay said they wanted to, and then Dallas also communicated that. But so I do believe I wouldn't say necessarily, oh, it's coming back. I mean, some teams are starting to use it, but I think they're starting to see more creative ways where they can implement that fullback, hybrid type of player on their offense.
Who'd you grow up rooting for? Were you a Seahawk fan, maybe? Does that sound right?
Actually, no, I was not.
Really? Okay.
The guy
Niner fans everywhere going, yes, he wasn't a Seahawk fan.
It's funny because my dad, he has to hear the Seahawks fans every day. So he's like, don't go to the Seahawks. I'm like, all right.
He said that, don't go to the Seahawks. There you go.
People. But no, I was a big Tom Brady guy, especially being a quarterback. I admired his game, and the level he is able to maintain his success at was definitely really impressive.
Do you think that the way the season ended for the 49ers makes them even that much more interested in you, where they ran out of quarterbacks? This is a team that literally maybe could have used you in the NFC Championship game last year if you had been on the roster. Did that come up at all? That it's like, hey, we'd like to have somebody on our roster that we can utilize at quarterback in an emergency who actually can play quarterback.
It's funny that you say that, because I during the early meetings that I had with some of the 49ers or some of the scouts, I would throw that out there. I'm like, hey, I just
could have used me.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's funny.
That's awesome. Now, but at that point, that was before the process. So did you know that the Niners had interest in you when that game was being played? No.
I'm trying to think,
because that was before the off season.
Well, I mean, we were in combine prep during that month of January. So yeah, no, I didn't use that until later, more towards like my pro day and stuff like that. So
what was OTA? What did you think of the rookie minicamp?
I thought it was very useful. I mean, a lot of it's just trying to get acclimated and adjusted to the system and the routine and how things work in the NFL. So, I mean, really up until this point, I've acclimated it pretty well. It's just continuing to learn and grow.
So, I mean, you're on the field for the first time with NFL caliber athletes. Tell me what's going through your mind as you're running around out there. I mean, in some ways it's the culmination of a dream, but on the same time, you're out there to win a job and you want to be competitive. And also you're on the field with maybe the greatest collection of athletes that you've ever been on the field with. What's that feeling like?
It's funny because there's a bunch of different ways where I could take this, because initially, obviously you look around, you're like, oh, I know that guy. I've watched that guy. I've seen him on TV all the time. So it's easy to kind of have this mindset of being starstruck. But then there's also the thoughts like, well, I'm here for a reason and I'm with these guys. And then also it's like, well, I also need to focus on what I need to get better at and what I can do to help contribute to the team. So there's a bunch of different things that kind of tug at you in terms of, how you feel where you're at and going up at practices. But really, I mean, the biggest thing that I'm trying to take away is really just to watch those elite players, the Kittles, the McCaffreys, and just how they operate and how they go about their business on a daily basis, and just try to learn from them.
Yeah, it seems like, people think of football in one way, but these guys are real pros. I mean, they show up with briefcases and laptops, and it's business, and they're very, very serious, and it's a different environment that I think the average fan maybe envisions if they're thinking of football. It's not like high school football. It's not like college football. These guys are pros, and they make a lot of money, and they take it very seriously. Um, what were the meetings like? Were you guys, and what you mentioned the systems are similar. I mean, a lot of people say that Kyle's system is very complex. Did you get the sense of that?
Oh, I mean, it's pretty much every variation of every formation you could think of, it's going to be there. But I enjoy that just because I know at the end of the day that kind of plays into my advantage, just because I believe if there's anything I'm good at, it's processing and remembering a bunch of things. So
Yeah.
I know it's like, yeah, it's a lot, but it's like, this is good for me and I can handle it. And I mean, he does that for a reason too, because he puts defenses in conflict all the time, and you need to, because it's the NFL. It's your job now. You're not going to classes and stuff like that, so you can spend a lot more time on football.
You're the fact that are a bright guy that had a really challenging major, that you're a cerebral player. Yeah, I would imagine that helps you. In fact, some of the older scouts that I've known through the years say, the difference between sometimes the college player and the pro player is really between the ears. That that the pro game it's a whole new game plan each and every week, and you have to be able to quickly digest it and bring it to the field. And some guys can, and some guys can't. And it's coming fast and furious, and you really have to be a dedicated student of the game to process everything that goes into a professional game plan on a week-to-week basis. I mean, I'm sure that came screaming through to you in this minicamp, huh?
Well, I'll add on to that. It's also more on you, because
like nobody's in your face going, Jack, get in there, study this.
Exactly. They'll just say, hey, this is where this is at. And then they're like, hey, like, study this. But ultimately, it's up to you to understand and learn it, which is a lot different from college, where it's like there's scheduled meeting times and they'll go through everything in detail. But now it's like they'll teach it, they'll coach it, but there's just so much in terms of what you need to learn that there's times where it's like, hey, you just need to learn all the formations. And however you learn it's however you learn it, which is nice for me, just because in college with my schedule, I had to be disciplined and manage my time well. So that skill set transfers over well.
Let's talk about preparation. Because to me, one of the great things about football is that if you love the process of football, you're going to be good at it. You're going to be better at it. And I don't know that there are too many pros that get by with just not liking the process. When I talk about that, I'm saying it's not about game day. It's about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, cut up films, lifting, eating right, all the different things, meetings. What part of film study, like how much film do you like to watch? How much film do you feel like you need to watch? And are you a guy like, talking to Brock Purdy last year, he's like, yeah, I watch film, and then I watch more film, and then I go home and I watch more film. And he's really dedicated to his film study. Some guys want to watch, the all 22. Other guys are like, hey, just show me the cut ups so I can get a feel for my position and my spot in this. Give me your breakdown on film study. What do you like to watch? What tendencies do you have?
Well, ultimately, there has to be a structure to how you watch film, because I do believe there's a lot of times where a lot of people, they'll just stare at the screen and they don't necessarily know what to look for. So for me, it really starts with, one, what's the game plan going in this week? What do we have in? And then two, you have to use the film in a manner that's going to make you play faster. So for me, it's the more I can see before the snap, and what if I can get a tendency on how they're going to play or how they're going to react before the snap, that's ultimately going to help me play faster. It's going to get the calls faster. I'm going to be able to see and react faster, so I'm not having to make any post-snap reads. And the tendencies differ between whether it's the D-line gives the tell, the linebackers give the tell, or the safeties give the tell. But ultimately, that's what I'm looking for.
As far as the guys you've met so far, have you buddied up with any of the other rookies or undrafted guys? Have you gotten to know anybody or any of the veterans? Have any of the veterans kind of taken you under their wing and so far and introduced themselves and said, "Hey, man, here's my number if you need anything," kind of thing? Or who would you say you've had a chance to meet and get to know so far?
Well, it's funny because there's two guys who I trained with for the combine down here who are also on the team. So Mariano, the linebacker, and then Corey Luciano, the O lineman. So I mean, we have our group because we know each other pretty well. But really, in terms of, I mean, they're all great guys, and they kind of took us in with open arms. But it's funny because it's just been a week, and you know how the rookies or the new guys coming in, you can get the deer in the headlights look. So right now, I just think everyone's trying to figure things out and get acclimated. So, I mean, we'll see how it is like in the next few weeks, but yeah.
What's it like in a situation where, you're getting to know guys, but at the same time, you're competing for 53 spots on a roster. It's like you're competing against guys, but you're also trying to work with them to learn things and learn the offense and get better. In this situation, Juice has always been kind of I don't want to say unchallenged, but I mean, there really hasn't been a big time caliber fullback or anybody that could really play his spot in camp at almost any run at any point since he's been a Niner. You and Braden Willis, I think, are probably the closest he's had to anybody who could actually maybe play fullback. How do you expect that dynamic to play?
Ultimately, this tends to be my belief system. This is kind of what's grown and developed at the same time, because I know it's easy to be like, well, you guys both play the same position, you're competing for that position, but I don't necessarily see it that way because it's not me competing against him. When he's on the field, I'm not on the field. When I'm on the field, he won't be on the field. So in that sense, it's like it's not me necessarily competing with him. And I try to take what I can and focus on what I can control, which is just being the best teammate I can. Because it's really ultimately going to be me versus the defense. And that's where I see where the competition lies, not necessarily me versus him. And that's where it's like, for me, I don't want to sit there and have my blinders on and be like, oh, well, I'm going to close my eyes because I'm competing against them where I can't learn anything or there can't be a relationship there. And especially since the fact that I've watched so much film on the 49ers and watched what he does, and I just have a lot of respect for the things he does and how successful and all the accomplishments he's had. I'm not going to let that get in the way just because people say that there's a competition. I don't see it as a competition between me and him.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, the Niners have such fast linebackers, and so many times the fullback's job is to block a linebacker, maybe block a defensive lineman, but a lot of times you're looking for a linebacker in space. And I'm looking at this group, and you got Greenlaw and Warner, who you haven't even seen yet, but then you got even just these guys like in this minicamp, D. Winters, Jalen Graham. Those guys move exceptionally well. Marcelino McCrary Ball. I mean, this guy played college corner and then played safety. It's like the linebacker spot in the pros has gotten to a point where they're really more like safeties. I mean, they run 4.5, they're 220 pounds, they're incredibly athletic. The days of the 260 pound guy with the neck roll and Matt Milton, those guys aren't really out there anymore. So have you noticed that the speed of the linebackers at the pro level is just crazy?
Well, really just the speed in general it's definitely a step up, but I also believe it's faster just because people aren't dumb. Like people in the NFL, it's like they know their keys, they know how to react fast, and it's like they get to the ball fast. So in that sense, just the combination of the two speeds it up. So, ultimately for me, we haven't really gone into big team sessions yet. So I'll see that when it comes. But you can see it's like people just move more efficiently and a lot more athletic and faster.
Yeah, and then everything's happening so much faster. What do you think of Bobby T? I mean, he's kind of an old school guy. This guy's been in pro football for decades. He's one of the most respected assistant coaches in the entire league. That's got to be kind of and you got Anthony Lynn there as well. You got two of the very best, coaches at your position. I mean, that to me would have been a major part of my decision making, choosing a team is who am I going to be coached by? You got two outstanding coaches here.
Oh, and they're great people. I definitely, in the short time I've been in meetings with Bobby T, he's quite the character. But it's funny, he's old school, so I mean it's right up my alley. I kind of like that type of personality and fit well with that personality. But at the same time too, it's like he has some humor. It's not just like, hey, do this. It's not like a dictatorship. But I mean, he has a high standard. He's very detailed, and I mean, I really enjoy his meetings.
Yeah, no, I guarantee you he's entertaining. All right, when football's done, and it's not going to be done for a long time for you, I'm predicting you're going to have a great career. But when football's done, what are you going to do? What are you going to take your mechanical engineering degree out for a drive? Do you want to coach? Do you want to scout? I mean, you literally are, you're a cerebral guy who could, I'm sure, be an incredible asset as a coach. But coaching, coaching hours are long. I mean, these guys work 100-hour weeks, 110-hour weeks. What's plan B after football? Or some guys just say, you know what, I ain't even going to even entertain plan B until I exhaust everything on the field, and then I'll consider it. Or have you thought about it?
Yeah, I fit more into that second category. Ultimately, just because this league is so competitive, and I believe that if you think about your plan B or you spend a little bit of time on your plan B, all it's doing is taking away from your plan A. Right. And ultimately, it's going to sort itself out how it needs to sort itself out. But for me, it's like I'll just worry about that when the time comes. Because who knows? Ultimately, there's a lot of ways and directions my life can go based on what I choose. Exactly like you said, the coaching, the engineering, I mean, who knows what. So I'm just like, I'll let that sort itself out and then focus on what's in front of me right now.
I talked to a scout who has the West Coast, and I said, give me your thoughts on Colletto. And he said, man, this guy's a great competitor. You can see it in every aspect of his play on either side of the ball. He's a team first guy. He's a tough football player who will sell out he won't take any shortcuts. That was basically, he talked a lot more about your character than about your football per se. What would you say is the strength of your game if you were grading yourself from afar?
I would say it's kind of a double-edged sword, because while it's also a great asset I have, it also could be something that can hold me back, is the versatility. Just the fact that I could do a bunch of different things. But the saying goes is the more you tend to do, the less effective you are at whatever it is you do. So for me, it's just finding that balance, using my versatility, but also being able to hone in the skills for whatever I'm doing.
Couple last ones before we let you go. You're wearing 49. Is that the number they gave you?
Absolutely.
Is there significance to 49? Give us your breakdown. That's a good fullback number for sure.
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's like, that's just what they gave me. I was like, yeah, whatever you got, I don't care.
Just give me a uniform. I don't care.
But I was like, it's the 49ers, number 49. I kind of like it. It's growing on me.
Yeah, there you go. So you if you make the team, will you keep 49, or is there another number that has meaning to you that you would seek out?
Oh, no, I'm not switching.
That's what switching.
I'm sticking with it. I don't like the whole switching this one year, this the next year. I believe it's the player that makes the number. It's not the number that makes the player.
Good attitude. Highlight of your college career. If you think back, man, if I say, hey, man, give me the one thought, maybe a Civil War win over Oregon, maybe a big hit, maybe a touchdown pass, big hit on special teams. I mean, literally, you could have a wide array of highlights that would come to mind. What sticks out? Is there some moments at Oregon State that you're like, you know what, it didn't get any better than that?
Oh, beating Oregon last year. Yeah, that's
great game too.
Oh, that's a no-brainer. I mean, there's like the last game in Reser Stadium, beating Oregon, coming back, like storming the field, how it was after the game. I mean, that's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. You don't forget that.
How did you celebrate that one that night?
Well, it's funny because I remember
that was mayhem, by the way. For people who don't remember that, you should go YouTube it. I mean, to say people storm the field, I mean, the coach barely could get off the field. I mean, I don't know how you guys got off the field. I mean, it was mayhem on the field that day.
Oh, I was on the other side of the logo from the locker room, and it took me about 20 minutes to get from the logo to the locker
I believe it. I
room. I mean,
believe it. It was, I couldn't believe all the people got on the field that fast. I was like, how did these people all get down here that fast? I mean, there was literally no room. How'd you celebrate that night? It must have been an incredible night.
oh God, it's funny enough, I actually kept it pretty low key because my family, my dad, and they all went to that. That was my senior day. So we actually drove back up to Camas, and then I remember we went out to eat. I had a steak. I'm pretty sure some alcohol consisted of that, but
Nice.
but,
All right, let's
yeah.
get to know you before we get out of here. You kind of maybe give us the first hint on the first question. Tonight, parents say, you know what? We're celebrating. We're absolutely celebrating. We want to have the best meal ever for you, Jack. We're so proud. You're a Niner. You're going to have this great NFL career. Whatever you want, the menu is yours. What's on the menu?
Oh my gosh. See, now you're tugging on me. It's really mood depending.
You guys eat a ton. Come on, man. Football
Oh,
players eat and eat and eat.
oh, I don't disagree with you at all, especially myself. But I've been kind of craving the Italian food today, so I'd go with some pasta. I mean, I'm Italian myself, so we have our own family recipe for that. So I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. Some garlic bread, meatballs, Italian sausages, and then
Ooh,
Caesar.
sounds good. Little
God.
Caesar salad, you say? You're mixing a little Caesar salad?
Oh, absolutely. Salad before the entree, and then for dessert. God, what would we do for dessert? I mean, for dessert, for me, it's like the more the better. Do a
Just keep it coming.
hot fudge brownie or hot fudge cookie with ice cream and then chocolate and syrup, whipped cream. Like, just pile more stuff on there, and it'll disappear.
How about how do you figure out where to live down here? Is it all on you, or do they say, hey, why don't you go live with another rookie? Do you just go temporary in a hotel until you make the team? How do you map that out? I mean, what does the team help out, or are you just like, you know what, I guess got to go down there a week or two before and figure it all out, or maybe you've already figured it out?
You know what, Larry? That's the best. That is a great question because I'm still trying to figure that one out. But as of right now, I mean, they keep us in the team hotel. And then either once the season starts, you can find a place, or even you can just be in the team hotel. You'll just have to end up paying for it, which I don't know what the rate is per month. I just have to, weigh the cost here versus the cost there.
Is there
So,
limits to how much time you can spend in the facility? Are there rules about that, or can you literally? Could you just, if we're done with this, could you just go to the facility right now and spend all day there, or is it like, no, you're an undrafted rookie, you can only be here from this time to this time? How regimented, or what kind of rules do they have about how much time you pour into it? Because I mean, this is like your go. This is like your opportunity. So you want to put everything you got into it, but I know the NFLPA, the Players Association has their rules, and nobody, you can't break those rules, right? You got to do exactly what they say. What are those rules?
well, from what I know, I mean, obviously there's rules in terms of meeting time and the on-field activities with the team, but outside of that, I mean, it's completely open to you. So, I mean, you can go in whatever. I mean, you could sleep there for all I know. I mean, don't quote me on that.
And you're not going to try doing it, but you could.
Yeah, but
I'm Yeah, no, I was going to say I'm the guy that asked you about Taysom Hill in the presser. Um, just to rekindle that real quick, Hill has had a great career with the Saints. As kind of a jack of all trades. He can play quarterback. He goes in there for a package here and there. What do you think of kind of what you've seen from him? He's kind of carved out. He's kind of blazed the trail sort of for guys like yourself in a way, and it's cool because it's like before Hill, there wasn't really anybody too much like Hill. I mean, you could go way back to Jim Thorpe or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? As far as quarterback, and yet he's a football player. He's an athlete. He can hit. He can run. He's a short yardage threat. He's a gadget play. Have you ever talked to Taysom, and how much have you watched of his film?
oh, I've definitely watched a fair amount. We installed some stuff that the Saints would do with him at Oregon State as well. And it's funny because they kind of like to pick and choose from teams and stuff like that. But no, I was rooting for him this whole time because the more success he would have, the more in my mind, I was like, well, he's kind of creating a market for what I'm doing and what I want to do. So just having that understanding, I was, one of his, I wouldn't say his best fan, but I was definitely rooting for him.
Do you ever talk to Sean Payton in this process? Because I mean, he's in Denver. I would think that, man, after watching the way he utilized Hill, that he would say, "Man, get me Colletto here."
Oh, it's funny because during the draft, it was like the sixth round or early seventh round. I mean, I talked to him on the phone. So yeah, the Broncos were definitely on my list on the top 5, and I definitely was in contact with them.
Yeah, I mean, and what was Payton trying to sell you on being his version of Taysom Hill in Denver?
I mean, we never really got into that much detail because, I mean, obviously he's going so fast and he had to focus on in the war room. But he made his pitch in terms of like the free agents and stuff like that, and how I was able to get those people to succeed. And I do believe they wanted me to start to use that role, and they kind of saw me that way.
Couple last things before we let you go. One of the things I read in your bio is that you enjoy boating in your spare time. So what kind of boating are you talking about? Sailboating, motorboating, yachting? I mean, what kind of boat are we talking about, and how into it are you?
That's so funny because I remember, when was that? Because they did that whole thing in like 2019. So I guess at the time I was like, oh, I don't know. So I kind of threw that in there. Obviously, people are like, hey, let's go boating. I'm not going to say no.
Right.
But like, it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm so super passionate about it. But I mean, I like wake surfing, getting out there anytime you're enjoying some sun and a few Coronas. I'm not complaining at all.
Yeah. It reminds me of the line from the Wedding Crashers. You're a sailor. You're a sailor. Okay. Two last ones. One is, let's talk a little bit about the Jackhammer collection. Who gave you the Jackhammer moniker? And let me share the screen here because I think this is kind of interesting. People, let's see how we do this. There we go. Here we go. So, put that on the screen. So that is your tweet, and you've basically on Twitter you said, "I'm happy to announce that I'm releasing official Jackhammer merchandise for the upcoming season. I'm excited to partner with Wounded Warrior Project, and you're donating 25% of the proceeds to help the veterans who have been tragically injured. This is an awesome thing. I want one of those orange shirts, the orange shirt, the Oregon State color. Now we got to get them in Niner colors, of course. But talk to us a little bit about the Jackhammer nickname and your partnership with Wounded Warrior, and then we'll tell people and put in the comments how they can get involved. But it's basically Jackhammer Colletto, COLLETTO, 2 L's, 2 T's .com/shop. If people want to get a hold of some of the Jackhammer merchandise and support Wounded Warriors, I mean, it's an awesome cause. How did it come about?
Well, the name is funny. I think it was in my first year there, after the Colorado game, when my package, the Wildcat package, we scored 2 touchdowns late to end up like winning the game. And from what I remember, is in the O-line meeting room. I wasn't in there, but our O-line coach, he's like, yeah, this is great. He's the Jackhammer. So then once he threw that out there, it kind of stuck. And then the Wildcat package just became the Jackhammer package. And from there, it just kind of stuck and it took off. So I grabbed it and kind of ran with it. I kind of like the persona of everything. And then in terms of the Wounded Warriors, it was a cause that I believed in, and something that I'd feel I would really like to help out with and help that cause. So that's kind of how everything came about.
Way to go on that, man. That is very cool. Jack.hammer.colletto@gmail.com, and also woundedwarriorproject.org. And Jack is donating 25% of the proceeds to the Wounded Warrior Project. And just so cool, man, because it's, you take advantage of your platform to be able to, fill in where we need people to fill in our society. And that's obviously a perfect area. And why did Wounded Warriors resonate with you? Did you have a military background, somebody in your family with a military background?
It wasn't really I didn't have Well, I do have an uncle who did serve a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily like the family background that I have. It wasn't a huge military background. It was a cause, I researched some causes, and it was something that just kind of resonated with me the most, and something I was like, okay, well, that seems like something I'd really like to help out and contribute to.
Very cool. Very cool, man. Way to go on that. And all right, you play in back to back one last one on your athletic career. You played basketball, football, and baseball. What were your positions in baseball and basketball? And how were you a better basketball player or better baseball player?
Oh gosh. I mean, I had natural athleticism, but I kind of got to the point where it's like I just spent all my time on football, so obviously those sports tended to fade away a bit for me. But it's funny because in baseball, I knew football was my passion, so I was the same mindset. Like I don't care where I played. I ended up playing all 9 positions at some point in my life, and then basketball is more like shooting guard. I think is more like the three is something that I played the most at. So yeah.
Two last ones. Christian McCaffrey. Have you had a chance to talk to Christian at all? And what a
I,
star he is. I mean, he's obviously sharing the backfield with a guy like that would be a thrill, I would imagine.
I mean, I've talked to him a little bit. He introduced himself, and obviously we're in the same meetings, but I will say it is definitely very interesting just to watch and see how he operates and just how he practices. And it's really amazing. And you really appreciate how much time and energy he's spent and put into his position and just understanding this offense, because it just seems like every single rep he takes is a clinic teach tape. It's like the coach wants him to break at 15. He breaks at 15 every time. If he wants the route to finish at 20 yards, he finishes at 20 yards every time. And the coach really only just has to tell him once, and it just resonates and sticks. So, I mean, such a fast learner and such a great athlete, and he just does everything right.
Yeah, I'm just an illustration of how precision is such a big part of offensive football. It's not about, hey, we just do what you want. No. Everything's got a plan, an exact plan. Give me one thing that now you've had your first taste of it, right? The rookie minicamp is the first taste. This week will be the second taste. Training camp, of course, will be the ultimate test this summer. Give me one thing that you've said to yourself, maybe since this rookie minicamp, you're like, oh, okay, I need to do this to have success. Is there anything that you looked at your game and after that first minicamp, you thought, you know what? I really need to work on my footwork. I really need to work on my strength. I really need to work on catching the ball and watching it all the way into my hands. I really need to work on identifying, how the defense is reacting to the formation. Give me something that you kind of gleaned from rookie minicamp that you're like, you know what? I got to spend more time on that because I really hadn't anticipated that.
Well, it's funny that you say that, just because at this league, how everything's just another level up, I could almost kind of pick and choose from every single aspect of my game and like, okay, well, I need to get better at that. I need to get better at that. It's like, well, I do need to get stronger. I do need to get faster. So it's not necessarily that one that outweighs the other. It's just more so it's like, okay, well, there's stuff like this I need to get better at, and things kind of go hand in hand. Like if you're getting stronger, you're getting more explosive, you're going to play a bit faster. But I mean, the thing that will separate me the most and add the most value is really for me to just learn and master the offense as fast as possible. Because then it's like, okay, well, if this guy knows what he's doing, then we could focus on other areas. But if this guy doesn't know what he's doing or even knows where to line up or what to do, then it's how can we help this guy? You really can't.
It's the mental aspects of it.
Yeah.
Just being so dialed in on the mental aspects that you're playing faster because you're not thinking, you're reacting. Is that basically it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And last one, Brock Purdy was a revelation last year. We just don't see people do what he did. And it was an incredible thing to watch. He was he was almost undrafted. He was the last pick in the draft, and he had a really nice camp, but there was people that didn't even think he'd make the team, and he made the team. Then he sat there and he didn't play until Jimmy went down. And Jack, that was first week in December. So he basically sat all of September, all of October, all of November, mentally going through the reps, but not really ever being called upon. And then boom, snap of a finger, Jimmy's out. Kid, you're in. And here's the Miami Dolphins, and they brought the house. I mean, I don't know if you watched any of that game, but they brought all kinds of exotic blitzes. They were bringing 5 and 6 man pressures left and right, and it was baptism by fire. Not only did he stand in, play well, he won that game, won the rest of the games, won 2 playoff games. Give me your thoughts. Have you talked to Brock? 2, give me your thoughts of watching it from afar as a football fan, and now what's it like to be a teammate of a guy like this?
Well, it's funny because obviously from the outside looking in, it's very easy just to see the success and see everything that he did and, playing in the game. But really, it was those moments that were just manifested based off of everything he did in the dark and all of the work that he put in and really continually put the work in, even though he wasn't really the guy. But I mean, I'm not going to speak for him and what his beliefs were, but I knew there was something that went on in his head where he's like, at some point, my name will be called. And ultimately, when that happens, you're going to have to be ready. And he put in time, learned the system at a very fast pace, mastered the system in some aspects, and was really able to apply it. And the amount of time that he took to be able to do that on a daily and weekly basis during the season, even though he wasn't the guy, is really just a testament to his perseverance and then also his mindset.
Have you had a chance to talk to him at all, or be in any meeting rooms with him at all?
I mean, I've talked to him very briefly. I actually talked to him very briefly this morning, but he's doing the whole rehabbing process. So I mean, he's around us. It's not like he's completely disappeared, but I mean, sometimes he's not. Yeah.
The guys who people don't realize, but sometimes the guys who are hurt, they've got so much to do rehabilitation wise that in some ways they're kept separate than the rest of the team until they're healthy. Generally.
Yeah, I mean, there's like you'll see them around, but it's just in terms of the workout that's like you can't do the regular workout, so it's just going to be more specialized. So in that sense, it's like it's a little bit separate, but I mean, he's still there. He's still with the team.
Last one, man, and we appreciate your time. How's your life changed since the draft? I mean, does it people coming up to you, your buddies, friends that you hadn't heard from in forever? Hey, I live in the Bay. I might need tickets. Have you had any communication with your inner circle of friends, or how has your life changed since you've become a pro football player?
It's funny. I mean, it really hasn't changed too much, and I try to not let it change too much. And I mean, it's kind of goes on to the things that my dad and my parents both have like instilled in me when I was young. It's you want to keep your circle small.
Yeah.
And I do have a small support crew and like people I'll talk to on a regular basis. So I try not to extend out past that too far. So in that sense, my life really hasn't changed too much, other than the fact that, I'm living in the Bay Area now and I'm playing for a different team wearing a different number and different color.
You love the Niner facility, man. What do you think of it? Pretty new, nice practice facility. Tons of it's a pro facility. I mean, what stands out to you about it?
I mean, you name it, they have it. They
Right.
have absolutely every single resource available to you 24/7 whenever you need it. So like walking in, I was like, okay, they have everything. I was like, great. And that was really a bit of a worrying concern, just going to a team. I was like, well, I want to make sure I have resources to be successful. And the 49ers facility, they have everything. And then some.
One of the things I was talking to Juice about in December was they have a red room, like an infrared room. Have you seen that in the locker room, in the corner of the locker room there? They have an infrared room, and Juice says it's, he goes in there, it makes him kind of regenerate, makes him just kind of feel good. I don't know if you ever done the infrared training?
Oh, I use it every day now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, tell us about it. What do you get out of it? I mean, you have to expose your skin to the infrared, right? So you got to go in there with shirtless, shorts, and just it drinks in through your skin. And what is it? Tell us what it does for you.
So, I mean, I'm not a scientist for it. So
yeah, you're a mechanical engineer. I was a communications major, man. You've got me by several levels. You could probably break this down.
Oh gosh. I mean, I'll tell you what I know about it. But in terms of the recovery process, it aids in that. And then plus with infrared light, they say it penetrates a certain amount. So it warms and relaxes the muscles. But then they also said something about your adrenal glands, and it kind of helps like reset and relax your adrenal glands. So you sleep better at night. So there's like 2 settings. There's a morning and an evening setting that you can use. And then I usually like to use both settings. So in the morning I'll do it, and then in the evening I'll do it before I sauna and go home. So I've been using it every day and sleeping like a baby. So I don't know.
Awesome, man.
But it works.
It's great to hear. Hey, well, we've taken enough of your time, man. We appreciate you giving us a full hour of your time, and thank you very much. Good luck to you, man. It was a pleasure meeting you in the rookie camp, and we'll see you this week down there for the OTAs, and we'll come over and say hello. And then this summer, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun when watching you guys fight it out, trying to make this roster. It's a deep, talented roster, as you know, but one that I'm fully confident you can make. And thank you very much for your time, Jack, and good luck with the Wounded Warrior Project. Good luck with your NFL career, and go Niners. Go Niners. Glad to see you're here, and hopefully great things are ahead.
Great. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate you having me.
Take care, man.
Yeah, you as well.
Jack Colletto. Fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. All right. Hope you enjoyed the Krueg show. That does it for us on the show. And until next time.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I am